First of all, I want to thank Deputy Richard O'Donoghue for sharing his time with me, and to thank Sinn Féin for bringing this motion before the Dáil here this evening. I'd like to deal with a couple of quick practicalities, Minister. I want to thank our local authority, Kerry County Council, the housing staff, the clerk of works, the people that I would deal with on a daily basis who are engaged in dispensing of and spending of the money that they get from central government to do the works that are required in their own housing stock, first of all. But we're falling far short all the time. And what I want to highlight first of all is voids. I hate the word void. A void is a fancy word for an empty house. I'd much rather see you saying, well, this local authority or that local authority has so many empty houses. Yeah. The person who thought up of the word void, it was a fancy way of making it a bad situation not look as bad as what it actually is. With the massive amount of people, for instance, in Kerry County Council is remit that we have waiting for local authority houses, there is no reason in the world why we should have local authority houses empty. Canvassing an awful lot recently, I can picture in my head one housing estate, I won't say where it is, but 3 lovely houses in a row, and they would have been 2-bedroomed houses, and the 3 of them are idle for a very, very long time. That just does not make sense to me. There would be 6 people, for example, maybe or more, that could be living in those houses if they were quickly renovated. It just does not make sense. And it's not our local authority's fault, it's the fault of management here, as we'll call it, in government and in the housing department. Another thing that seems to be totally gone bonkers altogether is the maintenance of local authority houses. What I would like to see happen, I'd like to see our local authorities being treated the same way as if they were privately owned houses. And what I mean by that is, if a person is renting out a property, and if the person renting that property says the boiler isn't working, the latches and the windows aren't working, the heating system, there's this wrong, there's that wrong, the door is catching, the person that owns that house is duty bound, and rightfully so, to carry out the necessary repairs. If we're a stubborn owner of the property and if they wouldn't do it, who would be the person that would be going enforcing the doing of the work? Only the bloody local authority in the first instance. So there is clearly in Ireland today, there is one rule if you own a property and if we've rented it out, and again rightfully so, there are stringent rules about you. But if you're the local authority and you're renting it out to a member of the public who was on the housing list and rightfully so got that house, there's a different rule for them. That doesn't make sense to me. And if Sinn Féin were to achieve one thing here tonight in this motion, if that got highlighted and if that got outed, that why aren't the local authority treated the same as the private person? And another thing, as I mentioned, doors and latches and windows. Up until a number of years ago, it was a fact that it was the responsibility, and rightfully so, of the local authority. If the door was sticking, if there was something wrong with the locking mechanism, if there was some issue with the windows or doors, it was their responsibility. Lo and behold, not only did the rules change, but every local authority tenant was written to and told, if your windows, if your locks, if your latches give trouble, it is now your responsibility. Could you imagine the outrage there'd be in Ireland tomorrow if somebody decided, well, every private property owner that's renting a property is no longer responsible for this or that or the other thing? There'd be rightfully war about it. But it happened with our local authority houses. Now, our local authority people that are living in those houses, they don't deserve to be treated in a lesser way than a person living in a privately owned house. That's not fair. That's not equal. That's not what living in a house, if you're renting it, should be about. Every person should be treated equally. So I'd respectfully ask you, Minister, to please look at that. And again, if this motion was to achieve highlighting situations like that, it would be very, very important. And please do something about the voids. It's actually sinful, Minister. And you know I'm not fighting with you about this, I'm just stating it. It's sinful to see houses, be the houses, bungalows for 1 or 2 persons, our family houses, to see them idle. It's actually a shame. And to be thinking of young mothers and dads and maybe middle-aged or older people waiting for a house and house security, and they're everywhere. They're in every place where there is local authority housing, and not just in Kerry but throughout the country, and it doesn't make sense to me, and I really would like to see you addressing that. You say that you're serious about not tackling the housing crisis. Well, that's a very easy place to start. You own the houses already, just please put them back into use, and thanks very much.
Thank you.